Gakenke. 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 Hello, fellow fans, fellow coffee fans, and coffee lovers around the world. My name is Haley, your local resident neighborhood Q grader, coming at you live from Fellows Storm Playground, here to talk to you about a silky, smooth, silky clean, bright, delicious Burundi Gakenke that we're bringing to you from Flower Child Coffee Roasters this week. Before I get into why this coffee is so delicious, why don't I get to telling you how I am brewing it, because it's a little different than what I would normally do. This is roaster suggested. How I'm brewing it, this Burundi Gakenke, is I had 19 grams of a dose in to 380 grams out. That is a 1:20 ratio. I am blooming 40 to 50 grams of water for 30 seconds, and then I do what can be considered a second bloom, 40 to 50 more grams and 30 more seconds. So at the 1 minute mark, you are gonna then pour continuously to 250 grams. That should sound familiar. And after I pour to 250 grams, I'm going to let it sit for 10 seconds approximately. So I'll let the brew kind of do its thing, draw down for about 10 seconds before I then pour continuously to 380 grams. It's a lot of information, a lot of new stuff. If you want to see it written down, we do have it written down in our brew guides on our website. So it's written out for you. If you check the brew guide, it'll be all laid out step by step. While this is drawing down, I know I let it pause for a little bit longer than 10 seconds, but mine is taking a little bit longer to draw down. Could be the atmosphere. I'm going to pour now to 380 grams continuously with my even concentric circles, in to out, out to in. And if you're finding, like me, that this is passing a little bit slower than the timed pours on our brew guide suggest, maybe grind a little bit coarser. But for this coffee, I am grinding at a 5 on Ode Gen 2. That means I would probably grind at a 6 on Ode plus SSP. On a Gen 1 Ode, probably around a 4. Opus suggested grind setting in the range of Opus is in our brew guide as well. But this is more or less like a medium setting. While this coffee is drawing down, I'm gonna do one final step and give it just a little bit of a tap on the carafe to settle out the bed of grounds. Again, Flower Child's head roaster suggested this, and I am following this recipe to a T because I tested it out too, and it is absolutely delicious. Super high extraction rate, which is totally fine because this is a super light roasted but well developed coffee. Also, if you're pulling espresso, and I've heard so many of you want espresso suggestions, I hear you. I've got some coming at you. For espresso, the roaster suggests using the coffee at 4 to 7 weeks off roast, so letting it rest that much time. While this coffee is delicious, giving it enough time to rest really gives it time to open up, to delineate flavors, to give it that structure to settle into the structure that it has. That is beautiful. For espresso, suggested is a 1 to 3.5 or a 1:4 ratio, 16 gram-ish dose to 50 gram yield, 40 seconds if you're pulling at 9 bars of pressure, but the roaster does suggest, if you can, to do a low bar pull, so like 5 bars of pressure max for 50 to 60 seconds, so super long shot. So definitely give that a try. This Burundi is delicious. Tamarind, plum, super silky clean, a little bit of honey, not in viscosity, but in that round sweetness. Very bright, cools into a really nice, firm structure. I wouldn't pass this coffee up, y'all. Super delicious. And I personally will be drinking this all day, probably into the night. Is it good for my health? Coffee's always good for the soul, right? As always, it's easy to order from Fellow Drops. All you have to do is text us back the amount of bags that you want, 1 to a million. This is probably one of those coffees that you're gonna order 20 bags, so I mean, go for it. We're not here to judge, we're here to supply. And again, this coffee is chef's kiss. If you don't want coffee this week, don't text us back and we won't charge you or ship you coffee. We'll just text you next week with the next selection. As always, thank you so much for joining me here. Please drop questions, comments, or just say hi to us in the comment section. I am reading through them and I love to hear suggestions and take them into effect as much as I can. Thank you so much, y'all, for being here. My name is Haley, and I will see you next week with the next brew guide video. Thank you.